Hey, welcome to Bitwise Vids. I'm your host, Dr. Nate, and in this series we explore and learn how intelligent software tools and business processes are shifting how we design, build, secure, and maintain the power grid. In this episode, we're going to dive into NERC CIP and the cloud. So there's a lot to unpack here, so let's dive on in. We're actually going to look at the why, provide a little bit of context, and the how. So really what this boils down to is what's called a shared responsibility. We're going to dive into that. And then, what was new in 2024, January 2024, NERC CIP opened up some of the regulations and requirements around basically facilitating now NERC CIP workloads and data in the cloud. And then, of course, not yet. Emphasis definitely on yet, because that may be subject to change in the future. So why is the cloud important or beneficial to the grid, right? To the grid assets? We have renewables. And a lot of people, kind of think of renewables as distribution, which a lot of times distribution is out of scope, right, of NERC CIP. But when we talk about bulk scale renewables, the actual impact that could happen if those renewables were suddenly taken offline, right, could cause a impact to the bulk electric system, which of course makes it in scope of NERC. We also have grid modernization. A lot of technologies out there helping to create a more resilient, robust grid. A lot of that requires, real-time analytics, real-time processing, and the easiest way to do that, right, is getting it up to the cloud. Renewables, modernization. We also have the customer. So now customers are demanding, right, the actual people consuming and purchasing the power are demanding a lot in way of visibility into their energy consumption. They want to know, how much power is being drawn every 30 minutes or every hour. That way they can adjust their consumption accordingly, hopefully saving dollars. We also have security. There's so much that can happen with security whenever you have that data in the cloud. You can run, advanced detection algorithms, advanced anomaly intrusion detection even, that look at holistically the whole system. As well as threat intelligence. You can kind of more accurately share that in real time via putting some of this data in the cloud. And then, the other one is compliance. Some people group compliance and security while they are related. Compliance, there's a lot of other aspects of regulatory and compliance that using this data can help facilitate once it's in the cloud. So that's the reason I wanted to go ahead and separate that. Now context, right? Just a couple of little terms here where we have what's called BESS, bulk electric system, cyber system, right? I know there's a lot of systems, huh? So BCS is what that's called. And then we have another term here where it's actually BESS, bulk electric system, cyber system information. So the reason to call this out as two separate things to help facilitate this conversation is one is allowed in the cloud and the other is not. So if you have the system itself, so that's like your SCADA system, your supervisory controlled data acquisition, your control system, that's kind of up here in this BESS cyber system, the system itself, right? Now when we talk about information about the system, that's two separate things. So instead of saying nothing in the cloud whatsoever, the idea is saying, there's a lot of value that can be had from this, right? That once it's in the cloud, as shown here, a lot of value when this information is placed up in the cloud. And kind of moving over here to the how, we have another little term here, CSP, Cloud Service Provider, where the responsibility of security in the cloud as it relates to a cloud service provider, so you think Amazon, you think Azure, you think Google, that has to do with the security of the cloud, right? And then whenever we look at a customer, a cloud customer, or a SaaS provider, software as a service provider, the security responsibility is in the cloud. So this is kind of that difference. The cloud service provider is responsible for the security of the cloud, while the customer, the person who's purchasing that cloud infrastructure to use, to host whatever they want, or in the case of a SaaS provider, a software as a service provider, like some other vendor that is putting their software on top of the cloud, they are responsible for the security in the cloud. So that's kind of that difference. And you can also view this a little bit as the difference between what are called managed services versus, just putting a bunch of VMs everywhere, right? So you can get into some pretty complex situations where managed services, AWS can, or any cloud provider, Azure or Google, has managed services that they basically have software doing the offering, and that kind of takes away a little bit of the security responsibility versus just having virtual machines everywhere, and then any type of application is just on top of those virtual machines running in the cloud. So you can get into a little bit of a gray area, but the clearest distinction is of versus in, right? And the way some of the stuff that had changed here back in January is, what can go in the cloud, right? So 2024, of course, if it's not in scope of CIP, it can go in the cloud. So there's no jurisdiction that NERC has over that data. Therefore, it can go directly up to the cloud. The biggest thing, one of the big new things, is low impact. So this one kind of shocked me a little bit when I first read this, where low impact system and data and info can actually go in the cloud. So for y'all that don't know, right, NERC CIP, CIP breaks it up into low, medium, and high as far as impact to the bulk electric system. So now with this new regulations that went in place in January, the low impact system, the cyber system, could go in the cloud, as well as the info, right? And then the third change is medium and high actual information. So this is medium and high impact, BCSI, right? So this is that importance of defining these terms, just so we have a little bit of that context, where these are now the three things. These are now the three things that are allowed in the cloud. And you can imagine, well, if this is allowed, then the other stuff is not. And it's really the medium and high actual systems, right? That's really what it boils down to as far as what is not allowed. And this does make sense, putting the whole control system, the whole SCADA system up in the cloud. Let's take some baby steps first. And I really think that this is, the industry starting to try to figure out how to do cloud adoption while still taking those baby steps, right? At the end of the day, right, we have to look at what does the R in NERC stand for? The R in NERC stands for reliability, not retreat. When the first standards came out, as it related to CIP, critical infrastructure protection, kind of some of those cybersecurity standards, people started retreating. They started yanking Ethernet out of their systems. And it's like, hold up, guys, this is, R stands for reliability, not retreat. And I think we're seeing some similar things with the cloud, where basically in order to get that reliability we know we need, we know we want, in order to facilitate that smart grid of the future, absolutely have to use the cloud. It just has to be done in a secure manner.